Hey guys, hope you are doing well. In this series, we're going to learn about Ruby programming language, and the objective of this series is recording the learning process. So, here in the description, it's given Ruby is a dynamic open source programming language with a focus on simplicity and productivity. It has an elegant syntax that is natural to read and easy to write. So, at this point, I don't know much about Ruby, but learning a programming language is much easy when we start working with production code and all those frameworks and libraries. Then things might start to suck a bit. But before that, we just have to learn certain things like all the generalized concepts for programming languages. And here we'll be writing so many things that shouldn't be executed. So we'll have to learn first comments in Ruby. So let's search on Google comments in Ruby. Here the Geeks for Geeks link. So there are two types of comments: single line comments and multi-line comments. With hash we write single line comment. So this is a single line comment above. And this is Ruby multi-line comments. For multi-line comment syntax, we use equal sign begin and equal sign end. Let's create a file. Before that, let me show you the extensions I have on my Visual Studio Code. Ruby LSP from Shopify, and Ruby Sorbet from Sorbet. Alright, so let's create a file. ABC, just a random name with the Ruby extension. Things we will be looking at. Comments, keywords, data types, conditional statements, and functions or methods. The very basic concepts of programming languages. So we have already seen about comments, hash for single line comments, and equal sign begin and equal sign end for the multi-line comments. For multi-line comments. Now we can take a look into the keywords in Ruby. Keywords. Let's search on Google. Keywords in Ruby. Geeks for Geeks link. So here is a list of the keywords in Ruby. There are total 41 keywords. Keyword description, encoding, line, file, begin, end, alias, and, begin, break, case, class, def, defined, do, else, else if, and, ensure, false, for, if, in, module, creates or opens a module. It might be associated with packages. Next, skips the rest of the block. Nil, a false value, usually indicating no value or unknown. Null for the other languages. Okay. Not has a lower precedence. Or redo, rescue, retry. Retry is an exception block. Return, self, the object the current method is attached to, super, then, true, undef, unless, until, when, while, and finally yield. Let's take a look in another link. The same keywords listed here. Let's copy the link. The Ruby Lang documentation. This is for the reference. For keywords, link. For keywords, reference. Alright, so this is for the keywords, and now we can take a look into the data types. Let's write it first. Data types. Let's search on Google what it has about data types in Ruby. Gigs for gigs link. Data types in Ruby represents different types of data like text, strings, numbers, etc. Okay, so numbers, boolean, strings, hashes, arrays, symbols. We will be looking at the very basic data types in this video. Before that, we'll have to learn something. How we can print something in Ruby. Puts hello world, print hello world. So what's the difference? Puts uses a new line character after it, and print doesn't use new line character after it. So that's the basic difference. If we run it, hello world printed in 2 lines. Now if we were to swap these lines and now save and run, it will be printed in the same line, because print doesn't use new line character after it. Let's put this block at the very top. Let's take a variable num23, name it num1 and num2, 22.5. Let's put an underscore, and now let's print these numbers. Let's comment out these lines, run it, 23 and 22.5. Let's put another underscore. Essentially, this is the same thing as 234. 234 puts num1 plus num2, 256.5. So the addition of these numbers is a float, num3 . Let's change this to num3 and comment this out. Now if we add two float numbers, it gives us the float. But now if we add an integer and float, it also gives us the float. Let's talk about booleans a bit. Puts nil. Nil is essentially nothing. The blank space is nil equal to false. No, false. Is it equal to true? No, false. Nil equals nil. It's returning true. So nil isn't associated with any boolean. So we have looked very basic boolean things. String, my name is Mridul. Now if we print it, print the string, my name is Mridul. While doing this, I had something in my mind that I want to convert that to integer, so we'll have to look into type conversion. Like if we add these two numbers, this converts to float. Adding an integer and float converts to float. Let's take a look how we can type conversion Ruby. Let's search float to integer. Alright, toI method returns a float that is truncated to an integer. Let's comment this out first. So it's returning us 43.0. Now if we convert that to I method, now it's giving us 43. Let's duplicate this. This converts to floats and this converts type to integer. Let's comment all these out. We have looked at the very basic data types for us to get started with. So let's check these. Comments done, keywords done, data types done. Now we will be looking at the conditional statements in Ruby. Conditional statements in Ruby. Here the Geeks for Geeks link. Let's take a look at that. So with if and the condition, and this is the statement and ends with the end keyword. Same thing but with else, ends with end. What if we want to use else if? Okay, so here is the else if, and else if ends with end keyword. Now let's write some programs. Conditional statements. Let's take a variable num 34. If num is greater than 30, print greater than 30. End keyword. Now let's run this. Greater than 30. Now with else, let's duplicate this. Less than 30. Let's use else if. Num is less than 30, less than 30, else puts is equal to 30. Let's run this. Before that, let's change the variable to 25. It should run less than 30. Is equal to 30. Why is this happening? Okay, so the keyword is else if, not else if, but else if. Okay, now it's running less than 30 is equal to 30. While talking about conditional statements, also let's also take a look at the switch case in Ruby. Ruby case statement. So case the variable and using when keyword. Let's comment this out first. String. Let's take car case str when bike puts not car, it's bike. When bus, let's duplicate this. Not car, it's bus. When car, duplicate this again. Yes, it's a car. Let's remove this. Ends with the end keyword, but what about the default? Right, so with the else keyword, it prints the default statement. Else, I don't know what it is. Yes, it's a car because currently it's a car. But if we change this to CA, print this puts, I don't know what it is. Let's comment all these out. Now we have looked into conditional statements. Let's check this. Now let's take look into functions or methods. Functions, methods. Let's take a look on the internet. Functions in Ruby. Ruby methods. Method is a collection of statements that perform some specific task and return the result. Okay, we use with def keyword and method name, and all the things are almost same. Call the function def, the name, the statements, ends with the end keyword. Let's try creating a function def add with parentheses. Let's pass the parameters x and y, return x plus y, end. Now let's call this function puts add. Let's add 45 plus 3, 48. So the function is working. Let's create another method def multiply a and b, the parameters, return a multiplied by b. Let's take a variable multi equals multiply. The arguments are 5 and 6. Let's print it. Multi, yes, it's giving us 30. And the entire time I had missed something. The extension of this should have been with just RB. Let's edit this dot RB. VS Code had recognized this, so it was running okay. File extension for Ruby, yes, with .rb file extension. We have covered the very basic stuffs to get started with Ruby. In the next parts, we will be looking more at the loop strings and data structures. So if you want, you can like this video. I'll see you in the next one.